Do you ever feel like you're just not making progress with your English? What if you could go back and reset and start all over again? If I had to learn English all over again, I would focus on getting these 10 core principles right from the get go. And I'm going to share these 10 core principles with you today. These principles guarantee fluency and successful learning. So let's talk about that. Hey there, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. In case you're new here, this podcast is designed to help intermediate and advanced learners of English communicate with more confidence, more accuracy, more clarity, and more awareness. If this sounds like something you want for yourself and your English, subscribe to the channel if you are on YouTube, or follow the show if you are listening to me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That way, you won't miss a single new episode. You know, I have recently started learning French as a beginner, and it's been a great experience. I had always wanted to learn other languages aside from my native language, Portuguese and English, as you all know. So I finally decided to start learning French, and it's been great. It feels great to be a beginner again, and as I'm going through this process myself now, I came up with this list of 10 core principles that I have been working on applying myself with my French learning. And these principles help you achieve a solid level of fluency and proficiency in any language if you apply them. These are all core principles. So the very first thing I would do if I had to learn English from zero, from scratch, and it's what I did with French recently, is I would know my why. Do you know your why? Do you know why you are trying to learn and improve your English? So I had to go through that mental process myself with French. And here's the thing. I know that when I say know your why, know your purpose for learning the language, that might sound a little bit too esoteric for some people, but it doesn't have to be, okay? Your why for learning English, your reason, could be as simple as it gets, as long as it's something that makes you interested and motivated and encouraged to learn the language. So it doesn't have to be something so deep or profound, okay? In my case, when it comes to French, I started learning it because I wanted to know what being a language learner feels like again. What being a beginner language learner feels like, because I learned English many, many years ago. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, sometimes it's a challenge to remember how certain experiences were for me because I learned them, or I went through that process so many years ago. So one of the reasons why I wanted to take up French was because I wanted to feel firsthand again what being a beginner language learner feels like. Because that way, I'm going to certainly get insights and more advice to share with you here on my channel. That was the first reason. The second reason was because it's fun. I mean, I've always enjoyed learning languages, reading, writing, speaking. So to me, it's an enjoyable experience. But you see, I mean, it's nothing really deep or profound. It's just I wanted to have this firsthand experience again of being a language learner, because I believe that that will help me come up with more ideas for the videos here. But it's just fun. It's enjoyable. So what is your why for learning English? Maybe you want to get a better job. You want better work opportunities. That is totally valid. Although, as I've already shared here before, I believe that there are better reasons aside from work. So yes, I mean, it's okay to have work as a why for learning English, but I strongly recommend coming up with something that is deeply personal to you. Like I just said, you know, I want to feel like a beginner language learner again, or it's a fun experience. It's something that makes me feel good, so I want to do it. But come up with something that is highly personal to you. That's the first thing, the first core principle. If you know your why, it's going to be much easier for you to be resilient in your English studies. And you will encounter challenges and obstacles, and you will feel demotivated sometimes. But in those moments, if you remember why you started learning that language, English in this case in the first place, you will keep going. Okay? Principle number 2, determine what kind of learner you are. I certainly had to do that recently with French. I had to determine whether I was a hardcore learner, an average learner of French, or a casual learner of French. And you should do the same with your English. What kind of English learner are you? Are you a hardcore learner, an average learner, or a casual learner? To quickly define here, I define these terms like this. I define the hardcore learner as that person who needs to improve and learn English significantly for a very specific short-term goal. So learning English for that person is quite urgent. Maybe the person is immigrating to an English-speaking country in 6 months, or the person has a proficiency test to take in 1 year, or the person is on the verge of getting a promotion at work, but improving their English is a must in this case. So in that case, that person is going to have to be very intense with the studies. You see, that's a hardcore learner. Then we have the average learner. The average learner, to me, is a person who believes learning English is important. Learning English will bring many benefits to their lives, but it's not something truly urgent. Okay? If the person stopped learning English today, the person's job would go on as usual. The person's career would go on as usual. Nothing really bad would happen, at least now in the short term. All right? And finally, we have the casual learner. The casual learner is the person who just is learning the language for fun, as a hobby, and that person is more patient because the person has more time to learn that language because it's nothing really urgent. And that is definitely how I am as a French learner. I'm not a hardcore learner of French. I'm not an average learner of French even. I'm a casual learner. Why? Because I don't need French for work. There isn't anything in my life nowadays that require me to improve my level of French quickly, but I'm doing it for myself as a hobby, as something pleasant. So because of that, it's okay if I miss a day here or a day there, it's fine. Or it's okay if I only dedicate 5 or 10 minutes a day for a little practice because I'm a casual learner of French. Now, if I were a hardcore learner, or if there was something in my life that was urgent, then of course I would intensify the time, the energy, and the studies in that case. So make sure you do the same thing when it comes to you and your English. What kind of learner are you? Hardcore learner, average learner, or casual learner? This will determine the number of hours, the intensity you will put in your studies. Principle 3, be consistent with your studies and practice, even if you are a casual learner. That's what I have been doing with French, for example. I have been trying to practice French a little bit every day, 10 minutes a day. That's it, only 10 minutes a day. It is something that I usually do at night, at the end of the working day. I've already done everything I had to do that day. I get home, I take a shower, sit on the couch, relax a little bit, and practice French for 10 minutes. You see, in a very casual, laid-back way. That's how I have been approaching learning French at this stage. All right? So, be consistent. Even if you are a casual learner, try to do 5 to 10 minutes every day. Again, it's okay to miss a day or two. It's fine. We are not perfect, right? But try to be consistent. The next principle is learn basic phrases to communicate simple ideas first. That's what I've been trying to do with French. That's what I would do if I had to learn English again from zero today. I would focus on learning basic phrases to communicate simple ideas. And the very first thing I would focus on would be introducing myself effectively. I think that introducing yourself is like the very first thing every person should learn how to do in a foreign language. So, learn how to say your name, where you come from, your age, your hobbies, what you work with. All right. So start there. Make sure you know how to properly introduce yourself. And this might sound incredibly basic to you. I mean, if you're watching me now, you're probably at an intermediate or even upper intermediate level of English. You might be thinking, but that's so basic, Thiago. But here's the catch. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have been with students on live calls, for classes, upper intermediate students, advanced students. And on the first day of class, I ask each person to introduce themselves. Many people struggle with introducing themselves, even at a high level, at an advanced level. Why? Because probably they haven't taken the time to practice that skill in English. So think about that. Can you effectively introduce yourself in English? If not, start there. The next principle, principle 5, leverage technology. We live in wonderful times now when it comes to technology. We have so much technology available to us nowadays at our fingertips, either for free or for an affordable price. We have access to powerful tools, powerful technological tools. So make sure you leverage that. If you haven't been leaning into technology so much yet when it comes to your English practice, you are definitely missing out. Remember, I told you a little while ago, earlier in the episode, that I've been doing a little French practice every day for about 10 minutes a day on the couch in the evening at the end of the day. So it happens that I have been using an app called Buzzu for that. Buzzu is an interactive language learning platform that teaches 14 languages. It's perfect for anyone looking to grow personally or professionally through language, whether for work, study, travel, or connecting with family. Not only are the lessons crafted by experts, but also the AI tools Buzzu has gives you instant feedback so you can correct mistakes right away and improve pronunciation. And another thing that I love about this app is that the lessons are really bite-sized. I've been doing French practice for 10 minutes a day, and to me, it fits like a glove. I love that. I love the fact that I can just sit down, dedicate 10 minutes, set aside 10 minutes of my time, and I have there a complete lesson that can be done in 10 minutes. So the convenience of it is just amazing. Another great thing about Buzzu is that you can start learning with it for free. So you can download the app today for free, start learning with it, and if it makes sense to you, you can become a premium subscriber later. And I did speak to the folks at Buzzu, and they gave me a special link to share with you today. If you download the app through my link, you will get to try the premium version for 7 days free. Isn't that awesome? So I'm going to leave the link here in the description of the video, also in the pinned comment below, or in the show notes if you are listening on Spotify. This app has been helping me a lot with my French learning. I've been really enjoying it, and I think you're going to like it too. Do check it out. Another core principle for successful English learning is write things down. Longhand if you can. I mean, yes, you can use a Google Doc, but if you can write things down longhand, even better. There's something magical about writing things down on paper, putting pen or pencil to paper. It offers several benefits, particularly for learning, memory, and cognitive function. There is even research that suggests that the physical act of handwriting engages the brain in a different, more beneficial way than simply typing on a keyboard. So make sure you do that as well. Make sure you do that in English. Get a notebook, buy a notebook only for your English studies, and whenever you can, write things down. Not only vocabulary, but whole phrases, grammar structures you have been practicing, paragraphs that you have been composing or writing, maybe diary entries or short stories, whatever it is. But make sure you have this habit of writing things longhand. Still on that principle, one thing that I did many times when I was learning English was I would grab a text that was already written in English, and I would simply copy it longhand onto my notebook. You can also start that way because at least You are getting the practice of writing the words down. You get to learn about the punctuation, where the period usually comes, where the commas usually come in the sentences, how the words are spelled. So make sure you write things longhand. This is a core principle that not only benefits your writing in English, but it enhances your cognition that will help you in other areas of English learning, like listening, speaking, communicating. So keep that in mind. The next principle is consume content you care about. Consume content you care about. So do a little self-reflection and note down the topics you are most engaged in, you are most interested in. When you are, at home with idle time, you got nothing to do, and you are surfing online, what topics are you drawn to? What topics do you find yourself searching or watching or reading about? Is it business, money, finance, investments, psychology, health and fitness? Is it entertainment like movies, TV series, pop culture in general, books, literature? So what topics are you interested in? Make a list and then make sure you consume content in English for all those topics there. That's going to make the experience much more enjoyable for you because you're going to be using English as a means to an end. All right? When it comes to movies and series, you can also try this. You can also try watching a movie or TV series you have already seen before, but fully in English. I certainly plan to do that myself with French. For example, I love Game of Thrones, and I've already watched Game of Thrones a handful of times, the entire series. I plan eventually to watch Game of Thrones in French. The same thing with Breaking Bad. Watch Breaking Bad in French, and then Dexter in French. And also pick the movies, the TV shows, or even the books that you have already read in another language and consume them in your target language. In your case, English. All right? Because you will already be familiar with the story, the characters, the plot. So it won't be that hard for you to follow the material. Principle number 8, make sure you get a good grasp or a good understanding of grammar early on. The earlier, the better. Many people neglect grammar studies and they only focus on grammar later in their journey, or they don't focus at all on grammar, but they don't believe in grammar studies. But look, the grammar is the structure of the language. It's how you structure the sentences. I'm not saying that you have to be a grammar freak, but do pay attention to certain patterns that the language has when it comes to grammar. For example, in French, I am a beginner. I'm a complete beginner. I speak zero French, but with my practice that I have been doing recently, I've already noticed one small detail about the grammar here, which is the letter E that is added at the end of the words to determine if the word is masculine or feminine. So for example, the word French, masculine, wouldn't have the E at the end. So we would say something like français. Pardon my pronunciation. I'm still learning. I'm starting to learn now, but I would say français, right? But then the feminine would have an E at the end, française, française, all right? If any of you speak French and you want to correct me, feel free to correct me here under the comment section below. I find that the pronunciation of French is something that I really have to work on. But you see, I've already noticed that detail because, as a complete beginner, I think it could be easy to just, ignore that. But in my practice, I've noticed that, okay, so if I want to make the word feminine, I need to add the letter E at the end. Interesting. So when it comes to your English learning, get a good grasp of the grammar early on. Notice the patterns and don't forget them. don't forget them. The next principle is related to that, but about pronunciation. Make sure you get a good grasp on pronunciation early on. How do you do that? Identify the tricky sounds that the English language has that are tricky for you. So, what sounds of the English language are particularly tricky for you specifically? You know, for me in French, I've already been able to pinpoint that it's the letter R. The way the R in French is pronounced is quite hard for me, you know? So I know I'm going to have to pay more attention to the letter R, how to pronounce the R in French. And I've only been studying French formally for, I don't know, a month. You know, it's been really recent, and I've already noticed that. So identify the trickiest sounds of English for you. And a lot of that I find has to do with your native language. For example, for Brazilians, what are some tricky sounds in English? The TH sounds, you know, voiceless and voiced, as in thank you, and the as in then or them. All right, so for Brazilians, the TH is very tricky. The letter L for Brazilians is also tricky. The O, you know, going with the tongue like this, O, like Brazil and people, all right? Brazilians tend to pronounce the L as a O sound, like Brazil or people, all right? So that's another tricky sound for Brazilians. And also the letter I in certain words like big, the Brazilian learner would typically say big or seeks, but it's not big nor seeks. It's big and six. You see this sound. So make sure you identify that by yourself, or if you have a teacher to help you, ask your teacher to maybe pinpoint tricky sounds in English for you. I've been dealing now with students from other countries more often, so I've noticed that for Spanish speakers, for example, the letters V and B can be confusing, can be tricky. I see many Spanish speakers, instead of saying video with a V sound, pronounce video with a B sound. So that is one sound that if you speak Spanish as your first language, you should pay attention to how to pronounce the V sound in English, the V, properly. For German speakers, it would be the W versus the V, for example. Instead of vine, saying wine. You see this W. The W in English is this W, not a V sound, right? So maybe map out, you know, the main sounds of your own language, your native language, and the sounds of English, and then see which ones there don't exist in your language or are particularly tricky for you. And finally, principle number 10, enjoy the ride. Yes, have fun. Enjoy the learning process. If you have been learning English, make sure you enjoy it. You have fun doing it. I am certainly enjoying my experience with French, and as a casual learner of French, I'm not putting any pressure on myself to learn this language by, I don't know, next year or whatever, you know. I'm just enjoying the ride. And with that attitude, I feel like I have been learning a lot of things of French casually. So make sure you enjoy the ride, you have fun. Now, if you need English for something really urgent, like work, yes, you're going to have to be more intense with your study time. Maybe you're going to have to dedicate and devote more hours. But even in that case, make it fun, make it enjoyable for yourself. This is absolutely crucial. All right. So there you have it. Just to recap, these are the 10 core principles that I would apply if I had to learn English again from scratch. And I have been applying now with French learning. And I really recommend you apply those if you haven't been applying them yet. Number 1, know your why you are learning English. Number 2, determine what kind of learner you are. Are you a hardcore learner, an average learner, or a casual learner? That will determine how much time and effort you're going to set aside for English learning. Principle 3, be consistent. even as a casual learner. 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Number 4, learn basic phrases to communicate simple ideas first. Master introducing yourself. Number 5, leverage technology. Embrace AI, embrace apps, embrace YouTube videos, embrace all of that. Of course, know how to use all these tools properly and with responsibility, but leverage those tools. Number 6, write things down. Longhand, even better. All right? It's a magical thing that happens in our brains when we write things down on paper. Number 7, consume content you care about. Make a list of the topics you care mostly about and just consume those in English. For movies and TV series and books that you have already seen in another language, maybe in your first language, watch them, consume them in English. Number 8, get a good understanding on grammar early on. Start noticing the patterns of the English language and make sure you don't forget them. You gotta memorize them. Number 9, get a good grasp on pronunciation early on as well. Identify the tricky sounds of the English language for you specifically, and also take your first language into account. Finally, enjoy the ride. Have fun. Learning a language is something that it only adds to your life, to you as a person. So make sure you enjoy this experience. I hope you enjoyed the list that I brought to you today with these 10 core principles. Don't forget to sign up for Buzuu. Download the app today. If you use my link, you're going to get 7 days of the premium version of the app for free for you to try and see how it is. But I've been digging this app, and I think you're going to like it too. All right? I'm Thiago. I'm signing off. Thank you so much for listening to me today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share this video with a friend who's also learning English. If you are listening on Spotify, leave me a 5-star review on Spotify and share this episode with a friend who's learning English. And thank you so much. I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming episode. So stay tuned and take care.